Good morning. I'm Berks County Commissioner Christian Leinbach, and I want to welcome you to the operations meeting for October the 29th. We are in person and also broadcasting live via Microsoft Teams live event. At this time, I'll recognize my executive assistant, Anne Marie Grill, to read the public comment policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment like this dictated by limitations of the platform being used. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the county's discretion. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue. The county shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any response to public comment will be done at the county's discretion.
Thank you very much, Anne Marie. Are there any additions or corrections for the October 22nd operation meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. There's no public comment on agenda items in person. There's also none online, so we will move ahead into our agenda. There are two items on the agenda today. The first item is a presentation from our CFO and Deputy Director of Budget and Finance. I believe also our COO and Deputy COO will be weighing in on proposed 2025 through 2029 capital plan updates. And then the second item is the discussion around a potential countywide burn ban. Kevin Barnhart will be leading that discussion, and the commissioners will have an opportunity to weigh in with questions and any comments on that item. So with that, let's jump right in. I'm going to recognize our Chief Financial Officer to kick off the first item, Bob Patrizio.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's an honor and a privilege to come before you today with our preliminary proposed, some things you need to say yes to. So it'll be proposed after today unless you have more questions. But I can tell you it's been an arduous process, literally making multiple changes this week with requests from departments. So we apologize for getting it to you as late as we did, but we do believe it's very thorough. It's been a collaborative effort with both Kevin Barnhart and Larry Medaglia. And Medaglia.
Just for his sake.
Medaglia. Sorry,
it hurts
Larry.
His feelings.
Medaglia.
There's one Italian to another Italian.
I always want to put a G in there. You know what it is? I've always wanted to put that G in there for as long as I've known you. But anyway, I apologize, Larry.
That's okay.
Mr. Medaglia, thank you. Got it. So you're going to see a summary. Laura's.
Oh my goodness! Tell me his mic wasn't on. It wasn't on. Good. It took me about 5 seconds to figure that out. Can you explain that to us, Commissioner Santoni?
No idea what's going on.
That's when you say I know nothing. So anyway, Laura's going to start with. I'm going to turn over to Laura because it was really a yeoman effort with Laura and Jackie on our staff. And the only thing I would point out is you'll see if you just look at the total plan for 25 start what we adopted a year ago and what it is at the end of the year, you'll see there's an increase. And but included in that is a footnote 15.9 million of projects that were approved to be done in 24 that aren't going to be done and are carried over. And if we were to back that out as if they were done in 24 the way we had planned, the total 25 capital budget would be 27.1 million. So it's higher than a year ago, but it's higher because we didn't do all the projects that we thought were going to be done in 24. So to frame the conversation that way, I'm going to turn it over to Laura now and let her run with it.
Thanks, Bob. So the schedule that I'm sharing is a capital summary schedule. It starts out the very first line by year is the capital plan that was adopted last year which had included 2024 through 2028. So that's our starting point for our 25 budget. The next line shows the totals for all of the new capital project requests received through the budget office, reviewed and approved by the COO team. The next line is total changes to adopted capital projects, which Bob had indicated includes $15.9 million of carryover or unspent capital project funds from 2024 into 25, giving us a grand total for 2025 of $43,054,336 in capital projects. Let me share the new one. This schedule, albeit a little small, and I apologize. This itemizes every new capital project that was submitted to our office, vetted and approved by the COO team. Berks submitted 9 projects, 2 of which include elevator replacements, which are being spread across 2 years.
Excellent.
Facilities submitted 21 projects. The most costly of the requests include a bidirectional amplifier system for the Courthouse and Services Center, which is a specialized device designed to boost radio frequency signals and extend their range. Other projects include HVAC replacement for the courthouse, funds for a security project, a replacement of the roof at the 4-H Center, and camera and access card upgrades at our annex building. Information Systems has requested a very large project for 2026 to replace the Voice over Internet Protocol or VoIP system, and another large project for 2028 for the rubric backup system. This project is needed to protect county data. The prison has 12 new projects, including tankless water heater replacements, which are being spread over 2 years, and the replacement of the kitchen kettles, and also shower replacements. These are a few highlights that are included in the total 12.990557, which is the grand total for the new capital stretched over 2025 through 2029. And more specifically, the total new request for 2025 is $4,951,839. Some projects that were submitted have been set aside for further research. More specifically, projects containing lighting upgrades that do not pose an immediate risk to safety. We will be looking into alternative funding for those projects before asking the board to approve general fund monies. At this point, I'm going to pause. Do you guys have any questions on these schedules so far?
If I might add, the lighting projects, we bundled those together to see if there are any federal grants available. Try and bundle those together and potentially bring on a consultant on a fee basis to search out any, similar to the one that we're working through facilities right now.
So just a note on that. I have a card of a gentleman I talked to yesterday at the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority. He met with several of us. He's from the Department of Energy.
Okay.
All about grants. I have his slide deck. I believe there's some potential applicability of DOE grants that could help us with the lighting, possibly even some other areas.
Thank you.
Oh,
So
that's excellent.
Thank you.
So no further questions. I'm going to switch my screen to the existing capital.
just for the record, I don't think anybody can read the screen. I just so you know, if you can just tell us.
All to look there and not here.
Okay. We've been
I-
trying to enlarge it, but
I could share the Excel, which I can make larger if nobody minds looking at the toolbar
what's
stuff.
that?
She
At the
sent it
top?
Yesterday.
I haven't, yeah.
We have it, Laura.
Okay. Yeah, we do try to share the schedules ahead of time so that you can review and come with questions or comments. So for the existing capital, this shows the changes of the capital plan for which that we adopted for the 2024 budget through 2024 through 2028. The largest component of this schedule is the uncompleted capital projects from 2024. We deferred or carried forward $15.9 million of projects to mostly 2025, but also to future periods like 26 and 27. Many departments reacted to our request to put Berks on a budget diet. And so many projects have been deferred to future periods outside of just what had been deferred from 2024. This allows us to earn interest on those funds while the project is deferred, and also assists us in determining our fund balance requirements and analyzing those needs, and when will be the best time, when necessary, to look at bond financing for capital needs. In addition, some of the existing capital project updates reflect new or additional information, which many times leads to requesting additional funding. So with this presentation, we look to the board for any questions or approval. With your approval, we'll make the adjustments in our countywide capital project plan.
So just so I'm reading this correctly, the change to 2025 is a change in the positive of $17,866,594.
That's correct.
And
And
that's being deferred to future,
so 15.9 million was deferred from 24 this year
right?
to 25. And
Okay.
then some of the, you can see in 26, we've got multiple projects being deferred. Those are, some are Berks on a diet, some is timing.
Right. Okay. Looking for any action?
Yes, we're hoping that the board will approve this presentation so that we can include these projects in our capital plan and in our budget for 2025.
From a COO standpoint, do you have any concerns, comments, endorsement?
Endorsement for sure. We meet quarterly with our heavy hitter departments as well as with budget and finance, and we're satisfied with the presentation and all the effort that's been put forth over the last few months to put this together.
What impact does this have on the proposed 2025 deficit?
So capital projects typically are fund balance funded.
Right, one-time money.
Yep, wouldn't affect, a tax increase or general fund taxes contributions. This is all fund balance. Some of it's Berksheim fund balance, some of it's alternative funds such as Act 13 Parks funds or hazmat funds, depending on the projects. So with this approval, that's when we'll relook at the projects compared to what we previously had for fund balance requirements. The fund balance requirements change when our total expense changes. So given that update and the new capital projects, we'll review for where's our fund balance requirement, when do we need to, or if do we need to finance capital projects. So this is an update. It sounds like a big number for 25, but 15 million of it
Right.
was from last year.
It's
So
just rollover.
I think I can add to that too. So if you just were to look at the new request this year, right, it's
Mhm.
4.9 million. The general fund funded piece of that is 3.9 million.
Okay.
And that's just the new request. And the rest of that is net assets, 600, make it 700,000. We have for parks, we have Act 13 money, 36,000. We have hazmat funds. These are all restricted funds. These never
Right.
affect taxes. And on that one, we have about 10,000. We've got the district attorney with the National Forensic Grant. Okay. That is 75,000. We got liquid fuels money in here, which again, it's not tax or property taxpayer money. That's 83,000. And we got a civil family court property e-filing system funded with
Records
Rec Act
improvement.
grant, right? And when you look at the current projects that carried over, or there was a price estimate, the 15 million that we carried over. But when you're looking at that line, I think it's 17 million, 17.8 million. When you look at that, just a rough estimate, this is within $500,000 either way. But when you look at how those projects are funded, about 15.1 million of the 25 change, 17.9 is general fund. So if you take those two numbers, just the new additions, that carryover, you already approved for us to spend that this year. We're going to have that piece of that's general fund we're going to have a higher fund balance
At the end of this year than we projected.
So when we talk about the forecast, we're projecting out where's the danger zone? Where do we go under 60 days of operating capital, right? Well, that helps extend that out, right?
Yep.
So, and then of course, some of the projects that were in the plan last year, some of those were general fund funded, but it's not like we're going to come to you and say, we have a plan this year that's $30 million general fund funded for 25. I don't expect it to be anywhere near 30.
Right.
Maybe it ends up 22 million, right? So, so I hope that helps frame.
Yeah, the simple answer is what we're talking about here in capital is one-time money because of the deferral. The end of this year, we'll have a higher fund balance than initially projected, but that will be spent down at this point. The plan is in 2025.
Yeah.
And it really has no impact on what we call the structural deficit, which is ongoing operational expenses.
That is correct.
Okay. What is the will of the board?
Make a motion to approve the capital request.
I'll second the motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
No.
Very good. Appreciate that. We'll now turn the meeting over to our Chief Operations Officer. I do want to note that over the course of the last several days, back into last week, I've been contacted by several townships, at least one firefighter asking when the county is going to implement a burn ban. I explained to all of them that the county cannot unilaterally implement a burn ban, that there's a process. And then Friday or Monday, I guess Friday, I reached out and talked to Brian. I think then the three of us spoke, suggested that we do at least a presentation on two things. One, what is the process revolving around a countywide burn ban? So people understand it is very different than municipal burn bans. And two, what are the most current weather and fire related conditions? So Brian Gottschall put together a PowerPoint, went over it with our COO, and I'll turn it over to Kevin to present.
Thank you, Commissioner Lineback. As you stated, we reviewed this with Brian. Brian's the author of this report and is very comprehensive, just kind of giving an overview, a very extensive overview on really what a burn ban would consist of and how you could potentially get there. Again, there's no action requested today because we don't have the consent of 10 fire chiefs contacting the fire warden. So we're just doing this for informational purposes at this point. So the first slide indicates what is open burning, and it relates to this discussion. Open burning is defined as the ignition and subsequent burning of any combustible material, garbage, leaves, grass, twigs, litter, paper, vegetative matter involved with land clearing or any sort of debris out of doors, either in a burn barrel or on the ground. The use of propane or gas stoves, charcoal briquette grills, or the use of tobacco in any form is not covered under county burn bans. Campfires are allowed in the fire rings that confine and contain the campfire in a designated state, federal, or Department of Environmental Protection licensed campground. Special note, a statewide ban, if enacted by the governor, would further limit these actions. We don't know exactly what that entails, but just want to put that in there for informational purposes. So this kind of sets the stage on specific what constitutes open burning. Weather factors. Fall as always brings a higher risk of wildfire. We've had no measurable precipitation in over 30 days. The official gauge at the Reading Airport last recorded minor rainfall on September 28th. So we're beyond a 30-day window right now. National Interagency Coordination Center wildfire outlook shows an increasing risk for our area in the next 7 days, move from low to moderate. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration forecasts we could return to a normal level of precipitation in the period of 8 to 14 days out. Important note, normal in the period does not necessarily mean fire risk conditions will be corrected. It's a very important note on that slide dealing with weather. Recent local actions, as Commissioner pointed out, a number of municipalities have implemented burn bans on their own. As of yesterday, 22 municipalities report having a burn ban in place. The counties of Lebanon, Chester, and Bucks have implemented countywide bans. Whether they were contacted by 10 fire chiefs or the fire warden, I think one in particular actually initiated it and contacted fire chiefs and the fire warden to implement one of the county burn bans. Very important.
Just to note that even then, though, the fire warden with DCNR had to agree to it. They can't force him to do it.
They sort of initiated the process,
right,
as opposed to waiting or standing by till fire chiefs request the act. Okay, this is very important. The County Authority Act of 1995-52 is an act of countywide burn ban for not more than 30 days, can be extended by further action. Only on a request by Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, District Forester, which would be made subsequent to a request from at least 10 local fire chiefs. Again, at this point, we have not received notification from the District Forester. Violations are enforceable by law enforcement and are a summary offense with progressive fines for repeated violations. After a ban is enacted, there must be a 48-hour delay until it is enforced. Now we get into the what could we do? Under possible actions, do nothing. No request has come from DCNR. Rely on local officials to evaluate and implement a patchwork system of bans as they deem necessary. And as was stated earlier, there are 22 bans in effect presently. Act now. Use forum to remind the public of the risks and ask that prudence overrides convenience and open burning is voluntarily curtailed. Plan to act. Contact DCNR and indicate a desire to enact a ban or adopt a resolution staging a ban to be issued by the COO without the need for another board meeting should DCNR make the request. That kind of predetermines once, if and when that would occur, then it would be automatic. Rescinding or recession authority to be included in that act could be included. Again,
let's just clarify that. That's kind of important.
Yes.
We didn't do that the last time, and it required a special meeting of the commissioners to rescind.
Mhm.
Here, the potential would exist that we've put, and I believe to a certain degree, some of this language is in place from the last time we allowed the COO to implement, announce a burn ban, and to rescind a burn ban. Is that correct?
That's in resolution 216-2023 to enact and rescind via resolution temporary countywide bans on outdoor burning.
Right.
So to enact and rescind via resolution. Additional discussion points. Is action needed or can the public be counted on to act prudently? And that's a big question mark. Would the issue of a ban change the conduct of someone inclined to burn? The objective is to stop the action before it happens, not collect a fine afterwards. Are there detrimental impacts of a ban that would affect those who would conduct their work in a modified and safe way given conditions? Examples are agricultural needs, and I think farms are exempt, but farming activity is not.
Ag-related businesses are not.
And will law enforcement be unreasonably burdened pursuing complaints? So that is real we are. I think the focus today is what is a burn ban? What leads us there? What authority the county has and does not have, and then possible actions and certainly discussion points. So at this point, it opened up to the board for discussion.
You know how many municipalities or how many fire chiefs, how many fire chiefs have reached out to DCNR about a burn ban?
We're not aware
We're not
of
aware.
any,
No, okay.
and none have reached out to us as of the last time we spoke to Brian.
Brian's certainly the coordinator, and he has not
Mhm.
responded to me and said, by the way, there's 12 that already contacted them.
There's one thing to keep in mind, and I'm looking at the one slide back, do nothing. There are 71 or 72 municipalities here in Berks County. And it's a pretty wide area, I believe it's over 800 square miles that are covered. And those municipalities know their community better than anyone else. That's number one. Number two, I believe there's some variance in the burn bans at the municipal level. It appears that the burn bans, as you go to a larger jurisdiction, become more restrictive. We don't, like you said, we don't know what the statewide burn ban looks like, but it was clear from speaking with Brian, and he put it in the slide, that it is even more restrictive than the countywide burn ban. And so there are 22 municipalities that have already acted to implement the burn ban. So you can make an argument, maybe that's the best way for on a community by community basis to address that. Secondly, and I was asked this question on the air on WEU on Friday about a burn ban, and I said, number one is use common sense. No one should be going out and burning leaves in their yard under the current conditions. If you live in a place like I do, where the backyard is wooded and I have homes adjacent on either side and a huge field behind me that's just been harvested, burning something in that condition could set off an absolute nightmare. So common sense is a significant part of this. The concern I have about us proactively doing what, and I believe I know which county, but I'm not going to state it in case I'm wrong. But in the discussion with Brian, at least one county reached out to 10 fire chiefs, asked them to reach out to the DCNR forester, and then communicated with the forester, and the forester agreed. I believe much more in value of what the local municipalities and frankly what the local fire companies who serve our local municipalities believe is necessary. And that said, if 10 fire chiefs reach out to the DCNR forester and the forester says, yes, I support a burn ban, I believe at that point in time, our community is spoken and we should consider taking action at that point in time. But I've asked this question and I still don't know exactly the answer from our legal team. I was concerned the last time. I was contacted by a butcher shop that is an ag-related business that could not take cardboard material with waste material on it from the butchering process. They had to stash it in an incinerator behind their building, and it attracted flies. They burn that on a daily and sometimes more than even a daily basis. And we have a number of butcher shops. That's the one that I heard from. They were pretty upset. My understanding was the municipal burn ban didn't stop them from doing that, but the county burn ban did. And that's the only concern that I have. I don't want to stop and actually make a situation potentially, in that case, from a health standpoint, worse. And especially when they have I know I'm familiar with this incinerator. It's right along I-78. That's the only concern I would have, and I don't know how, frankly, to address that.
So
But those are my thoughts.
with a county burn ban, then is it all or nothing, or can we say burn ban with this exception, or?
That was my question.
Yeah.
I don't know what this act allows us to do beyond, because I believe already there is an ag farming exemption. Am I correct? In the countywide burn ban.
That's my understanding, yes.
That's my,
But the countywide burn ban, those guidelines are set by who? By the state, or at some point the county set them?
Well, we set them in conjunction, referencing back the state statute. So what
Okay,
we
so it's
discussed,
state statute.
what we discussed is potentially modifying the definition of agriculture
Right.
to include an agro business like
Mhm.
that. That there was some discussion about mirroring off of what the township burn bans are, but we think that that would create a lot of confusion from township to township. The better approach may be to modify the definition of agriculture to include ag business, such as the butcher shop, to encompass this particular type of situation where you have related agricultural businesses that may be impacted by this that were not previously considered in the previous resolution.
And Christine, can that, the change of definition, can that be made at the county level, or is it?
We could do that in our resolution. We
Okay.
believe so. Yes.
I think it would be doubtful that the Commonwealth would challenge us on that, but stranger things have happened. Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
Bottom line here is please use common sense.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, I will tell you, the only thing that surprised me when I saw this presentation, I believe yesterday, is that we're moving from a low risk to a moderate risk. I'm not exactly sure where, how they make that determination, but if they were up at my house, it's more than a low risk, and I'd say it's more than a moderate risk. That's a little confusing.
So if there is a chance of us moving forward with a countywide burn ban due to recommendation of the fire marshal, should we at this point have something that says we're authorizing the COO to move forward with these
We have
conditions,
that.
because we already have that?
We have that. So if you
Okay.
want to, Commissioner Kevin, if you want to reference the resolution.
Resolution 2016-2023, be it resolved, and it is hereby resolved that the Berks County Board of Commissioners hereby authorize the Berks County Chief Operations Officer, and in their absence, the Deputy Chief Operations Officer, to enact and rescind via resolution temporary countywide bans on outdoor burn bans pursuant to the procedure and requirements set forth in 16-13201, 1995 Act 52, and with the concurrence of the Berks County Director of Emergency Services,
What we would.
in concurrence with the Berks County
Yeah,
Director.
so
of
that we
Emergency
already
Services.
have. What we don't have is the additional language
Agribusiness.
on agri-related business, protecting beyond just the farm operation. It's conceivable that we could get that language added and voted on just to have it in there this Thursday. Is that unreasonable? Is that?
If
Yeah,
that's the will of the board, then we'll make sure it gets accomplished.
okay.
So historically, this was enacted June 6th of last year.
Mhm.
So now we're talking spring, fall, but conditions are pretty rough out there.
Yeah, they are. I think they're rougher right now than when we enacted. If you remember the last burn ban, we enacted it, and I don't want to exaggerate. 3 days later, 4 days later, we had a significant rain, and within days, we were getting pretty beat up on it. And that is where this came from, because we had to decide to get back together as a board of commissioners. That we're going to discuss it's a challenging situation. But I think the one thing that we need to add is the language on not just farms, but ag-related business as well. Okay. If we can, I don't think, we don't need to really vote on that here. We can have it prepared and come before the board as a resolution on Thursday. Does that work for you, Christine?
We will make it work.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your work on this, Kevin. And I know the solicitor's office has been looking at this as well. We appreciate your help. And of course, Brian Gottschall couldn't be with us today, but prepared the presentation. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there any public comment? There's none in person. And I do not believe there's any online. No, there's none online.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The meeting stands adjourned.